10 seconds.
Okay, welcome to today's Newcastle Borough Council special Cabinet meeting. Welcome to Cabinet members in the room and also officers within the room and also the public or any other councillors that may be watching online. This has been webcast live on YouTube. The agenda is in the section below, which links to the council website. First item on the agenda is apologies. I don't have any because everybody's present from the Cabinet. Third item is minutes of the previous meeting attached on 3 to 6. Can we agree those as the correct record? Okay, great. So the main item for this agenda is the Wallis Quarry odour issues and potentially making a decision to allot funding to allow a case to go forward for an abatement notice. So we're considering setting up what's been called a war chest to fight the odour nuisances and gas nuisances that are coming from Wallis Quarry in Silverdale off Cemetery Road. And we'll consider allotting £1 million budget to fund the legal case against Wallis Quarry Limited, the operator of the landfill site. And of course, we all know it's hit the national headlines in recent months, and even up to the desk of the Prime Minister and into Parliament because of those foul gases that are emanating and still emanating from the site as of yesterday evening. This comes after the council officers have worked tirelessly over the last few months to gather evidence towards the potential statutory nuisance abatement case against the company formerly known as Red Industries. This will be a significant step for the council to take. Our residents have been suffering for far too long because of these foul gases coming from the landfill, and it is clear that the operator is not doing enough to resolve the problem. So we must consider stepping in with the only powers the council has as the local authority to improve the situation, but this will involve potentially committing to a hefty financial burden. The council has already funded specialist advice this year, and now we need to consider a further commitment of resources to allow council officers to proceed towards a nuisance abatement notice. Gathering evidence to get us this far, the council have undertaken extensive work to establish whether a statutory nuisance exists. This includes regular odour tours in and around the area of the quarry, in and out of hours of the operation of the quarry to monitor and to witness odours. They've been working with specimen properties, or stink squad as we like to call them, to assess odours in residents' homes, securing additional air quality monitoring data through joint funding of 4 statutory units operated by the Environment Agency. We've commissioned expert analysis of the data by air quality consultants. We've commissioned advice from a landfill expert. We've analysed more than 750 impact statements provided by the community through the Stop the Stim Cap It Off residents group, and also data coming from our local MP, Erin Bell. And we've collected statements from residents and affected bodies such as Keele University, the college, town centre businesses, the list goes on. And we've also secured legal advice from Queen's Counsel. Now, despite some of the capping that's taken place and other measures which the Environment Agency have requested through the many breaches that have been identified over the last few months on this site, it continues to impact our communities, and there have been recent warnings about the potential long-term health impacts from Public Health England, and there will be a scrutiny meeting, a county council health scrutiny meeting in this room, I believe it is in this room, on Monday of next week, where some of those issues will be aired and questions will be received from the public and councillors. So residents in large parts of Newcastle and the surrounding area have suffered for many months from these gas odours emitted from the landfill site, and complaints continue to be received in significant numbers. Now, air quality monitoring equipment indicates that concentrations of hydrogen sulphate in the air remain high. So in taking this legal action, the council is relying on the Environmental Protection Act 1990 The legislation covers statutory nuisance in law and covers the council's duties and responsibilities relating to odour nuisances. The Act places a duty on local authorities to serve an abatement notice where a statutory nuisance is identified or considered likely to arise or occur, and in particular, any dust, steam, smells, or other effluent arriving from industrial, I'm reading it obviously word for word here, industrial, trade and business premises being prejudicial to the health or a nuisance to local residents in the surrounding. The council does not have any powers to suspend, restrict or close operations at the landfill. They sit with the Environment Agency. But a successful case for statutory nuisance could lead to the operator of the landfill being prosecuted and fined. And as it says in the report, the figures attached to that, and if there was a multiple cases of that, there is a top limit of £3 million. But there's a lower limit of, I believe, £1, I believe, isn't it? So that will be in the hands of the court. So if we make this decision to allocate the funding today at this cabinet meeting, the council's head of environmental health will then determine whether the issues of the gas smells from Wally's quarry do amount to a statutory nuisance before taking action. I just emphasise that. Obviously, we're not here today to decide on an abatement notice or whether the council takes action. All we're doing is allotting the resources to ensure that our environmental health officer, who's here today, can make that decision in the knowledge that we could carry through a court case against the operator of the landfill. So that's my introductions to this. We've got a series of recommendations which we'll come to in a bit, but I'm going to open it up to comments first, and first of all bring in Stephen.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Our general fund reserve was, I think, 1.548 million last year. To prudence of our financial management, we built it up to £3 million, which is where this £1 million are going to come from. So we'll still be £500,000 better than we were last year after we've done this. But at the end of the day, I think this is the Environment Agency should be doing this. I don't think it should be us, but fairly obviously the Environment Agency aren't going to do it. So we've got to do it. I don't think we've got any choice about the matter. What else are we supposed to do? The smell is disgusting. It's not going away. If we don't do anything about it, it'll just be there forever and a day, and no one else seems to be going to be prepared to act. So I think it's up to this council to do it. And I don't think our residents would regard the £1 million as being money that we shouldn't be spending on this, because I think everybody's sick to death of this wretched smell. It's a long process. It's not a 5-minute job. This will go on for a while. And I think the £1 million is a prudent amount of money to be put on one side, and I absolutely support it. And I don't think we have any choice whatsoever to do this. Thank you.
So just Steve, outline more on the reserve situation, obviously, that we're taking this £1 million out. Just give us the picture of when we came in 2017, how much we had in the reserves and what we've done to get to this position. The last figure
I looked at was 1.548 million. And now that's gone up this year. We've put up to £3 million this year by our prudence resistance we've been doing. So if we take £1 million out, we're still £500,000 better than we were when we started. But it's something we want to do. So I've got no problems in supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, and I remember when we decided to increase the reserves, we called it our fund for a rainy day, isn't it? And of course, this isn't a rainy day; it's a stinky day, isn't it? We've come up against now. So this, I agree with you, Steve, that obviously the public expect us to take all the action we can, and that money being allotted, but not necessarily all spent, but allotted so we can go eye to eye with this operator, because they'll certainly be looking to go eye to eye with us through the courts, and we can obviously represent the people of Newcastle and those residents that particularly live around that have suffered so badly over the last few months because of the unfortunately the operators, in my view, has not been running the site properly, and they have not been regulating properly. Over to Trevor.
Thanks, Leader. The one thing that concerns me now, if we have a successful prosecution, is there a chance of recovering costs?
If that's in the hands of the court, isn't it? We can make a application for costs, and I think if we were to win the case and a hefty fine was put against the operator, I would think we'd be in a good place to do that. But I will refer to any of our officers that want to put anything in there. I mean, Dan, our legal head.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Through you, ordinarily you would get your costs back in a successful prosecution. It might not be the entire amount you spend, but the courts will factor that into any decision it reaches.
Thank you, Dan. And that's all the reassurance we could possibly give on that, isn't it? But yeah, okay. And by the way, we have employed a leading environmental QC to fight the council's case. So rest assured, that we are making sure we have the best legal advice, because we know our opponents in this, if we do the abatement notice and the legal action, will be doing the same because of their vast reserves in their company. And I'll go over to Paul.
Thank you very much, Leader, and thank you to officers for bringing forward this report, which I wholeheartedly endorse. For the residents living around Wally's Quarry, this has been a complete nightmare, having to live day in, day out, through the night time, 24 hours a day, some cases, having to put up with this. This is not acceptable. This administration has set out from the word go that we're not prepared to sit still and to take this on the nose. We're prepared to do something within the realms of our possible remit that we are allowed to do as a borough council. And I think this is only prudent that we suggest at this moment now that we have this extra fund to bolster up our prosecution of this matter. It's £1 million, and that's a lot of money, but I think it's good value for money in terms of the intentions of this council, that we're not weak. We're not just going to sit there and roll over to this. This is a serious matter. I agree with other councillors that the EA should be taking more of a stance on this, but we've left this option where we've got this power to do this within our remit. I would like for it to go a lot further, but this is where we are at this present time. And I think we should carry on and pursue this to the full letter of the law as it stands, because it's not acceptable for residents. And certainly this administration during its time has made sure that the council operates within its parameters and funding requirements. It doesn't overstretch itself. And as you've just heard from the leader and the deputy leader, that we've got that contingency in place for eventualities like this. So I leave it there and just wholeheartedly endorse this report and recommendation. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. Bring in Jill Heatham next, and then Jill Waring after.
Yeah, I agree. This foul odour has greatly affected the health and well-being of our residents for far too long. I've had them many complaints in my ward, and I'm sure colleagues across the whole of the council have had the same. I think as a council, it's the next step we need to take. Nobody else seems to be doing it, and I endorse the recommendations to Cabinet today. Our residents have suffered far too long and too much.
Jill.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, we reached the point now where we've got sufficient evidence, and that evidence is strong. And I just hope that this progresses swiftly and an abatement notice is served. And I hope that then leads to prompt action to stop this awful situation. I mean, if you look at the statistics, it's massive, the number of complaints that have been received in a 6-month period. And I would like to ask the managers, directors and employees of Red Industries, would they like their families to live next door to that, their mothers, fathers, children? It's just absolutely awful. I think it's incredibly sad that it's even got this far, and I think it's absolutely disgusting. And I think if we need to provide the money to resolve this, then I'm totally in favour of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And just to emphasise what I said right at the beginning, is the council's powers don't stretch to suspending, restricting or closing the operation of the landfill. This is legal action against somebody that we feel is polluting the local area, and if that happens, I think just a careful work needs to now take place by officers. So I think the public have got to be aware that there won't be an immediate abatement notice process at the end of this meeting, or at the end of today, or even at the end of the week, because I think when we're putting that sort of money into the pot, we've got to make sure, with our QC's advice, with the advice from our landfill technician, with our officers qualified to make these decisions, that we need to ensure that any abatement notice is absolutely accurate in terms of the wording, and also is served on the correct person as well, involved with this landfill. For example, there is a gas management company that does that gas management on the site, and this is carried out by contractor called Coatesback Energy Limited, which is also known as CPL Envirogas Limited. So our officers need to be absolutely clear with the extent of their role in this site as well. So that's just to put that on record too. So looking at the recommendations before us then today, it's recommended that Cabinet note and that despite further work that has been taken place at Wally's Quarry landfill site, a significant level of complaints continue to be received from residents of the borough, and air monitoring data continues to show odour levels in exceedance of annoyance levels. 2, note that officers advise regarding the evidence, risks, financial implications and potential outcome surrounding a formal statutory nuisance action set out in the confidential appendix of this report is noted. 3, approve an initial reserve sum of £1 million to meet the costs associated with taking formal action in the event of a decision to do so at a later date, and authorises the Executive Director of Operational Services in consultation with the Leader of the Council to call on this reserve to meet the potential costs associated with serving and progressing any notice. And 4, we agree to update full council on the decision on the next steps in the legal process, and a report will be taken this evening because we have our council meeting at 7 o'clock. So those are the recommendations before us. Obviously, I've referred there to the confidential appendix, which we have got later on this agenda. The reason we haven't brought that obviously into the public domain is that is the information, that is the stuff, so to speak, which we will be taking to a legal action, and it wouldn't be right to put that into public domain and give our potential opponents sight of that evidence until obviously the court case itself. So later on we will go into confidential to officially review that work that's been taken, as I say, over the past few months, gathering all that evidence together to put us in a position to hopefully serve an abatement notice. So item 1 to 4, their recommendations. Do we all agree? Okay, thank you. Moving back to our agenda front page, item 5 is urgent business, don't have any. 7 is the disclosure of exempt information that I just talked about. So I resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following reports as per the Local Government Act 1972, Part 1, Schedule 12A. Do we all agree?
Richard, can you stop the live broadcast now, please?
Live broadcast is ended. Do you